Hello, my name is John, and you're watching the Boys Don't Knit podcast. It is March 2nd, 2017. It is officially episode 15. I thought last week was episode 15, but it was actually 14. I was going by my files and found out that my episode 15 file was empty, so excuse me. Once again with the burping, I just finished dinner not too long ago. It was a little bit of a late dinner at 8:30. And for all of my new viewers, this is my podcast about knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, sewing, pretty much everything related to my yarn craft hobbies. And the name comes from I was trying to think of a podcast name, and I was trying to theme it with some 80s songs that I really like. So it was either between This Charming Man by the Smiths or Boys Don't Cry by The Cure. And Boys Don't Cry by The Cure won. So this is why it's Boys Don't Knit. And also the reason why I really love that name so much was because when I first started knitting back in 2010, 2011, I a lot of people were, confused about like, oh my God, why is there a man knitting? And still to this day, you think, if you're within the knitting community, or crochet community or anything with yarn crafting, you know that there's a lot of skilled men within yarn crafting. Stephen B, Stephen West, and so many other great pattern makers that are male, and so many great, people who make yarn, who dye and stuff like that, and other accessories. But for some reason, people outside still don't realize that it's not just, a one gender hobby. So, and for my returning viewers, thank you for coming back. I decided to do this episode with my glasses. I don't think I've done an episode with my glasses. Normally, I don't need them, but uh, I forgot to take them off before I started recording, so I was like, I'll just leave them on. And I'm going to start trying to follow a format, so hopefully it doesn't restrain me too much. If it does, then I'll just say, to hell with it. But I'm going to try to still stick to that between 15 and 30 minutes. So I will be doing some shoutouts, then I will be getting into my finished objects, then what is on my needles, my hook, my wheel, and then I'll just be going into my jabber about my life and things going on, like this incredibly colorful shirt. And to start off with the shout outs, we'll begin with Cody from the Cody Knits podcast. If you are one of my viewers and you have not checked out Cody Knits podcast, I would suggest it because Cody is an awesome podcaster. He's somebody I've been watching for a while, and I always look forward to his podcast. Him and his co-host Diamond, and he's on episode 48, and you can also find him on Instagram as Nurse Cody, which is nurse_Cody, CODI. So, and then there's also another great podcaster by the name of Ross. He is at Smells Like Yarn. He's on episode 89, and he usually does like a podcast about his knitting, and I think he started doing like a daily podcast. He was doing it for February and called it Lebuary. So I'm not sure if he'll be continuing that on for March. I haven't seen any podcasts for March. But then again, I just kind of click on what's on my YouTube page, so sometimes it doesn't show me everyone's newest work right off the bat. And then another great podcaster is Denise from Knitting Den. So if you haven't seen her, which I find it hard to believe because to me she's such a magnetic character, and I love her podcast so much. I love viewing it every episode. She's on episode 190 right now, and she's one of the very first podcasts I had ever seen. So I think I was looking for just something knitting related to play in the background as I knitted, and I came across her podcast, and I was like, whoa, I hope there's more podcasts like her. All right. Not realizing how many there were out there. So she is part of the reason why I started doing podcasts. And she's part of the reason why I continue. All of the podcasters, just seeing the community and hearing the podcasts just makes me want to continue doing this even more. And that's it for the shoutouts. The next thing will be finished objects. So for my finished objects, I've been mostly doing store samples. So as some of you know from the last episode, I am the new knitting instructor at my Michaels store. So it's Michaels Arts and Crafts. You can be found across America and now in Canada. As some of you who watch the why am I drawing a blank? The Crochet Crowd. They're always going to I think the Canadian stores, which look amazing. I was like, I want to work in that store, like this 2-story store. I think it has like an escalator in there. But then again, my manager was just telling me about how one of the stores in Los Angeles, they have to put everything in an elevator, and they have like this weird way of doing their restocking that just seems like it'd be a nightmare. So if I were to work in a 2-story Michaels, I'd hopefully work on the floor, not restocking. Which I'm feeling really great about this week. Being on the floor and being cashiering, I feel like I'm getting better every week, but we'll save that for the end. Yeah, but I am doing the store samples for Michaels for my classes. So these are going to be samples that people either I may have them like in a setup, so people who walk in can just see, oh, they have knitting classes. These are some of the projects people can do when taking either 1 or 2 knitting classes. Or there'll be things I also have with me when I do my demonstrations in front of the store. So the first item that I had finished was a hat. So just to show you something real quick before I show you the hat. This is my binder, so these is all of the patterns, all of the handouts I'll be giving out in class and everything. So Discover is the program held by the Craft Yarn Council, who Michaels works with to throw the classes. So this is my own little cover that I made myself from the. If you've ever seen Black Sheep, it's a it's a I want to say an Irish. It's been a few years since I've seen it. I want to say it's an Irish horror movie about men eating sheep. It's not a kids movie, so if you don't like toilet humor quite like South Park and stuff like that, I wouldn't suggest it to you. But if you love those movies and you love really cheesy, inappropriate, graphic horror movies, I would recommend Black Sheep. But in here I have. Let me see, where is it at? The pattern for the Class 2 project, which is this. It's done out of impeccable yarn. They use it's a goldenrod and like a dark navy blue, which it's a very nice color, and I think it is a sports team color. I just don't know which one because I'm not in the sports, but it does look familiar. And I like this hat, but I don't feel like it really says me, and I wanted something that was a little bit more brighter and lighter. So I made this hat right here. So this is my version, which is using the impeccable yarn, which is their newer label for it. So some of our less selling colors still have the old label, but this is the new label on it. And I really want to make this hat. That's on the label right there. Oops, right there. But it's crochet, so they'll have to wait till I'm done knitting. The green is called, the colorway is grass, and the gray is called true gray. So I'm really happy with the fit, the way that it came out. I made a mistake. Let me see if I can find it right here. So what I was supposed to do was, when I was seaming it down, I was supposed to, where is it at? I know I'm not that good. Oh, here it is. Yeah. No, well, you can't really see it, but I was supposed to start to seam it all the way down here, and then when I got right here where the ridges were, I was supposed to flip it inside out and then start seaming it, so this way you couldn't see if you can see it, that seam that's right there. But I decided to leave it because it will show beginner students that even advanced knitters make mistakes, and it's not the end of the world, and you don't have to start all over. And I think it still looks good. That just becomes the back of the hat. So that's what I would tell my students when I was doing the cake decorating classes, when they were like, "I made a huge mistake." I'm like, "Well, that's now the back of your cake." So um, yeah, that's usually where I'll be making sure to turn it to the back side. And even if it showed up in the front, it's not that big of a deal. So like I said, it's going to be a great learning lesson for students to understand why you have to read every single step of a pattern, and you can't just go assuming things. The next item is this washcloth. So this washcloth is done out of Lily's Sugar and Cream. I'm sorry if I'm a little congested or a little nasally. I forgot to take my allergy pill this morning, so I I don't know, with the glasses I feel like such a nerd saying this, but I forgot to take my allergy pill this morning, so I'm a bit congested today for some reason. Um, must be all those fires here. In my town, we have an arsonist that's like setting random houses on fire, and he set the house across at the end of my block on fire, and I was like, whoa. Like, at first we all got scared because we're like, how is he targeting these houses? Is he just setting random houses on fire? And turns out he did some advanced research and found out which houses would be empty because our houses are for sale. But still, you don't know, there could have been squatters in there. That's terrible that this person's doing this. Plus also, like I said, that happened yesterday, and I felt like yesterday. I've just been horrible ever since I got home. And so this is the washcloth Danelle Lily Sugar and Cream. The colorway is, where did I put it? Oh, it fell down. It is Coral Seas. So it has like this, yeah, like coral and like peach and uh, like a dark teal and like a light blue. So I like the way it came out. Originally, I had not read what the colorway was, but it kind of reminded me of the way that my mom decorated the house during the 90s. Like, she had like a ton of coyotes that were like these colors with like bandanas around their necks. So that was the first thing I saw of. And even I showed my dad, he was like, hey, that looks like the coyotes that your mom used to decorate the house with. Then those two are my only finished objects. The next thing I have is a current um, store sample that I'm working on. It's going to be a basket. It is made out of Bernat's blanket yarn. So it's going to be, this is the base, and it's about 12 by 12 inches. It's made, the two colors is a dark teal and a dark gray. And I'm liking the way it's coming out so far. I was hoping it'd be a little bit stiffer. This way it's not so floppy, but it'll work. And that was the base. These are going to be the sides. So the side stripes are going to be vertical, not horizontal. And so I have to knit, I think it's like 48 inches. Right now I got about 11. So hopefully I will have that done by Saturday, so I have something to show off at my, 3 things to show off at my Cheaper Than Therapy knitting guild. So it's a knitting guild, but a lot of people bring in their spinning, like me, and there's a lot of people that bring in their crochet too. So I like that it's inclusive. They're not like, it's only knitting. It sucks when you're at a place and they don't allow crocheters or spinners or stuff like that. I have heard friends who are crocheters and their horror stories on being places that aren't too inclusive to crocheters and macrame people, and that's sad. You should always let people in. It's yarn. The more the merrier. And the only other thing I have to show you are some stash enhancements. So Where did the other yarn go? Oh, there it is. I thought I developed a black hole in my room for a moment. I will be doing a bag, which is going to be out of these two colors. So it's Vanish Choice, and the colors are Peacock and Linen. So this should be a lot of fun. I think it's going to come out looking pretty cute. And then I've been drawn to all these teals lately, like, and blues and creams and all these, like, you know, neutral colors. But that's going to be for a bag, and this is going to be for a garter stitch hat. So it's the Soft Essentials, and it's like this color changing yarn. It's all these different blues. So I'm pretty confident that these are going to be really cute looking project samples. I'm a little sleepy right now. Yeah, that chicken and that chicken chow mein are really wearing me down right now. But I think the only other thing is Jabber. So yeah, life has been really fun lately. I've just been focusing more on work than anything else. And by work, I mean this, my little hobby slash work project. So when I'm not at work, I'm at home and I'm knitting 24/7, just trying to crank out these store previews. And I'm having a lot of fun doing them. So I'm glad that they're like a variety of projects, and I'm using all these different types of yarn, and some of them I haven't used before. Like I hadn't used Impeccable. I was always drawn to Simply Soft when I worked at Michael's previously. So when I did buy yarn, it was either Simply Soft, Patton's worsted, and the Charisma, and that was it. I've never worked with a yarn like the Bernat Blanket. I've never worked with I've worked with this before for the nipple blanket, but I don't, for some of you who don't know about the nipple blanket, it has been something I've talked about previously in the past. The last time I worked for Sugar and Cream was for a blanket. It was supposed to be a granny square blanket, and I was really excited about this because it was like a beige, it was like a cream colored yarn that I found that had pink, purple, and blue, and I had found some matching colors of those solid. They were the same dye that they used for that speckle that they had in the cream colored yarn. And I was pretty much doing the main color cream colored yarn as for most of the granny squares. Just at the very center circle, I was using either the pink, the blue, or the purple. And I remember I had set them out for my friend to see, oh, what do you think about this? And she looked at it and she's like, that looks like a nipple. And then I looked at it, and that's all I could see afterwards. And I showed like 5, 6 other people, like, oh, what do you think about this blanket? And that was the first thing they said was, looks like a bunch of nipples. So, I don't know. I ended up just scrapping the blanket, which I should have kept because my friend was like, hey, you should have used that for, you know, give it to a woman who doesn't care if anyone sees her breastfeeding, you know, but I guess decides to cover it up anyways, because I guess they have those blankets that kind of make a joke about covering it up. And but I think my niece ended up just frogging all of it and carrying it all out and making stuff out of it. So I'm glad that even though I didn't use it for my project, my niece at least found a purpose for it. So, but back to using yarns that I haven't used or haven't used in a while. Hadn't used Bernat Blanket, haven't used Impeccable. I don't think I've used Vanish Choice, and I haven't used that Red Heart before. So I'm getting to use all these yarns that I've never used before. So this has been like a really fun work project for me. So hopefully it gets me some signups. Hopefully some people get to get classes taught by me in person. So I think I'm a pretty great instructor because I've taught cake decorating in the past, and I love doing it. I love showing people stuff that I didn't learn before. And I love when I see them back in the store and they're telling me about, you know, how happy they are doing what they're doing and all the compliments they're getting on their work. And I used to get that all the time with cake decorating, and I really miss it. I do see my students every once in a while. They take classes with me, and I I love it when they approach me, and I love it when they tell me, because they're always worried I don't recognize them or don't remember them, and I remember every single one of them. I'm always worried, like, do they remember me? Are they going to think I'm trying to sign them up for another class? So I always keep my distance until they approach me. But I'm looking forward to experiencing that again, but only with knitting. So, and then also my shirt for today's episode. This was bought by my friend at work. She had just recently come back from vacation from Florida. Her daughter got married there, and her and her sisters were out, and I think they got these shirts. But unfortunately, she got a medium. No, she got a large, and she lost some weight recently, so she's at a medium, and she doesn't like the way this looks on her. So she was like, "Oh well, when I saw it, I kind of thought of you too, so maybe you might like it." So it says Treasure Island, Florida. Then it has this really cool Florida signature going down it. So I'm happy with this, and I'm glad she gave it to me. And when she first explained it, she was like, "Hey John, do you like tie dye?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like tie dye," and she I like the concept of tie dye. And then she explained to me what the shirt looked like, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be my thing or not. And then when she showed it to me, I liked it a lot, and I love it now that I'm wearing it. And other than that, just living life and trying to have the fun doing it. My dogs are good right now. They're three of them are outside. They're outside dogs in our family, so they like being with each other. And there's one dog we can't have inside because he, you know, goes to the restroom inside too much. And when we try to separate the other two, they're not having it. They'd rather be outside with their dad, so or with their husband. One of them is the wife, and one of them is the son. So, and then we just have the one inside dog, Lulu, and she's spoiled, rotten as usual. By anybody who sees the pictures I post of her um, on Instagram. And if you're interested in seeing me on Instagram, my name on there is Mr. Crafty Pants. And I guess that concludes today's episode. So hopefully for all my new viewers, you enjoyed my episode and you keep on coming back for more. And for all of my returning viewers, thank you for watching another episode with me. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Or you can always message me on here on YouTube. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you later.